easier. Oh, you don't want to be in the background? All right, guys. Okay, so what I've done is I have rounded out the bottom of my pot. I trimmed it. I did make this one specifically with a bit of a flat bottom. It's going to make it a little easier to add the pedestal than if it's round. But I did that when I threw the pot, right? I thought about it before I did it. So I left it a little flat. So this is where my pedestal is going to come from. And I'm going to do that. So the first thing I want to do is I have it attached to the wheel. I'm going to score this. All the kids are using the serrated ribs, so I'm just using the little wiry brush. I really sort of gouge that up.
That's just normal trimming density.
Yeah, make sure your base has to be thick enough though, right? Because we're gonna be doing a little bit of work on this.
Ooh.
And we don't want this to be really, really leather hard, but we want it to be strong enough to hold any sort of pressure we're doing on top. And then I'm gonna go ahead and I've got my slip here. I got my double brush because why take the time with a small tool when I can use a big tool, right? What I love more, this is not the same color slip, but I don't really care, is when I throw it and I use the soupy water that's on the bottom of my splash pan. I'm just gonna wet it even though I'm not gonna attach yet because it is a little drier. And if we go by my whole analogy about Arizona, this is way far away from from New Jersey. So I want that to happen. Then I've got this piece of clay and it's the same clay because it's just better, right? I've got it in sort of that poop emoji. What this is gonna do, it's gonna give me a pedestal, it's about double the thickness, right? Because all this guts that's on the inside here is gonna make it taller. So that's gonna so if I wanted it to be shorter, obviously less clay. Doing more of these, the same way with lids and anything else, you learn how much clay you actually need. And I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna score this too. Because why not?
Oh, Holly.
Holly, good. I was recording this for you actually. So I'm actually recording, but it's okay to talk. So I'm going to go ahead and add some of this to this. Now what I've done is that this clay here is starting to my pot clay is actually sort of absorbing this. So now I'm going to go ahead and just do it again. I'm going to take that off and just do it again. Just to sort of get it a little backwards on that rest stop. People who might be watching are like, what rest stop are you talking about? Well, they need our Arizona map. All right. Now the key to this is not using a lot of water when you're doing this, okay? So I'm just gonna go ahead and take that shape and put it down in the center there. So now, kind of looks funny. We're gonna throw off the mound in theory. So we wanna sort of center this and attach it. Now there's 3 different ways you can do this. You can make the pedestal, get it leather hard and attach it. You can put a very thick coil on here, attach it, score it on, and throw that coil up so you're skipping those steps, but that coil has to be a perfect coil. Right? So if that coil is thicker on one side than the other, then your clay is not centered, right? So I find this to be the easiest way. It's a little more dangerous because you're dealing with a lot of clay. Oops. Go ahead and get that back on. Now what's gonna happen also is that on this plastic bat that I'm using, the water is gonna drip down and it's gonna cause our pot to stick. Okay, so just don't stress about it. Just we'll deal with it later. I'm using a plastic bat because I don't want it to get loose, right? I don't like using a bat to trim because the dryness causes it not to stick. This won't absorb the water from here, so it should not move, whereas the masonite one will absorb the moisture and it might move.
Okay.
So I use the plastic bat. Also because if your pot is bigger, the plastic bat kind of gives you a little bit past the holes. All right, so now I'm attached and my clay is centered. And I am gonna constantly try and get water off of here because I just don't want that to start happening. So now, the most important part right here is that what I build on here is not thick when it's on the bottom and thin on the top. So if my pedestal does this, then my inside has to do this. If my pedestal does this and my inside does this, that triangle of clay down there is gonna cause it to crack. And I have that example actually in the other studio, which I'll bring. So now I'm gonna open up And I'm gonna open up all the way down to the base because I don't want to double thick the bottom, right? Now, how do you know where the base is? Well, it's gotta sort of go, oh, I can't push down anymore. But if you push down too much and it goes through, then you're screwed, right? All right, so now I'm all the way in. And now I wanna open up all the way to the edge because I don't wanna leave clay there. And I'm using my fingertips because I don't want this to open wide. So I just want to sort of scrape down on the bottom as if I'm making, I guess, a spout. You know, when I make a spout, I usually leave that bottom wide. So now, in here is about a 1/2 inch thick, and that's good. I don't want it too thin because I don't want it to collapse. And then I'm literally going to start to throw. Sorry, yeah, pull the walls, thanks. I'm going to throw a pot. There we go. Now this is if we're going to start talking aesthetics, you know, we start thinking either that 2/3 law and that 1/3 law. So I want my pedestal to either be shorter than half of the height of this or double the height of the half of this. And this is sort of when we talk about my aesthetics obsession, right?
Half?
Yeah, so I want this to be either 2/3 of the pot or 1/3 of the pot, right?
Okay.
Remember, I don't like it in the half.
Okay.
Our bodies don't like it when it's halfway.
All right.
Now we don't want this super thin. We want it to be the same thickness as our pot.
Would you have gauged before you started?
I usually make all my stuff the same thickness, right? Get the water out of here, super important, okay? Now, at this point, you can go ahead and make her sexy if you want. You also want to think about your bottom, right? So if I was to make this straight, it would probably fall down, right? We talk about that Eiffel Tower sort of. So if you really want it to be secure, you do want to flare that, but you don't have to. But maybe you want to get sort of sexy. All right, I'll collar this in a little and then loosen up here. And then maybe I want to sort of bulge this out a little bit and maybe go in a little here. Like old school, my apartment in the Bronx had these Spanish wood poles that made no sense whatsoever in between my living room and my dining room. And they were just 4 dark, you remember this in the 70s? They were just like poles and they were dark wood and they did bloop, bloop, bloop. They were like, thank you. Because we're the same age.
Exactly.
See what we just figured out?
With like an arch.
Yeah, like sometimes, yeah, there were no reason for that. I'm going to find them on the internet. So you see how we can go ahead and make her sort of do more interesting stuff. I mean, it could be a little gaudy, but you know.
Okay, maybe still a question here.
Yeah.
Which way is right side up?
What do you mean?
Is that the thing you're?
This is the pedestal. No, this is the pedestal.
That's the pedestal.
This is the bottom of the
It's kinda
candy dish.
two-sided. You could
What?
You could use either way.
Yeah, I guess so, yeah. Yes.
It seems like with a narrow pedestal, take a risk of it.
If you go too narrow, yeah, but that's why you want to flare out the bottom a little bit. And proportionate too. You want it to be a little interesting. So you don't want it as wide as this, but then you don't want it too narrow either. So it's going to be...
Looking at the height of the bowl.
I'm making it double the height of the bowl. Or I'm trying to go taller than the height of the bowl.
Yeah?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I mean, it's getting shorter because I'm making her fancy. Yeah, I think so, right? So that's there. Oh my God, David, you're totally seeing proportion better than me. All right.
Farther away.
Yeah, right. I'm like right on top of it. All right, let's go ahead and make her tall. Let's get rid of the fancy to make it a little taller, make it a little less. So it's kind of like I was saying, it's like the Chinese restaurants in the 80s too. They used to come, all the food just come in a metal dish that was lifted. And then they went, voila! There. We'll make her a little less interesting. All right. So, what's going to be really important? You do have the ability to go back and trim this. So, if you end up with too much clay here, you can trim it out. You want this to be straight though, because that's got to touch the table. So, if you want to trim it, you can. Get the water out of the inside. Now, next step. Let's just say I'm done. Let me make a little on purpose sort of mark here. Let's say I'm done. You are not going to be able to get it off of here. If you do, your lip is going to get messed up. Okay, so so I touched, yeah, I should, okay. So I'm gonna make this go away. I'm gonna clean this up because that slip that I've created that's dripping may add texture and maybe you don't want that. Now you're gonna let it sit here. You're gonna let that dry because you're not, oh, let's not have that in the camera. Oh. Okay, so you're not gonna wanna wire this off. You're gonna screw up your lip. Just let it sit and dry and it should pop up. Okay, but don't try and get it up because right now you're wet. So we're gonna let it dry. Cover it gently with plastic. So we'll let it dry now to get rid of this initial water so we can take it off. But then we wanna gently cover it with plastic because if this continues to dry much faster than this, you're gonna get a crack right there. Okay?
Next week? Dry.
Yeah,
Cover it. Oh.
yeah, like let's not put it outside.
Oh, okay.
Let's not rush it. We are dealing with super wet clay and like half dry clay. And we have that whole trip to Arizona we gotta get to, right? And then
Say that again, so you're going to leave it on
I'm gonna
there
leave it on
until
here, unwrapped, until this initial moisture goes away.
Right.
Then I'm hopefully can pop it off because it's that initial water should go away.
Right.
And then I'm gonna gently cover it
Okay.
so that this just catches up to this.
But you're gonna leave it on the back.
I'm gonna leave it on the bat,
Even
yeah.
though you can pop it off.
If you can pop it off, you're gonna put on a new bat so you don't dirty your lip, but do not put it upside down, right? Because I know that seems obvious,
Yeah.
but you know, sometimes I just have to express the obvious. We wanna leave it upside down, and then when you flip this over, you find that you've got some thick spots in here, you've gotta trim those. Because it will pull and it will crack. No matter what, science is science, okay? So in the other studio, I did a very flat plate and I let it get too dry, and then I put a lot of clay on top. So it was thin, and then it got literally this thick. I trimmed off as much as I could, and it's still cracked. So you really just want it to be a perfectly thrown bowl on a perfectly thrown cylinder with no thick joints. But it's actually easy. When you do this, I'm gonna put my hands in here and I'm gonna feel where you're at, and I'll just tell you to get more clay out of there. Cool? Good? All right, go for it.
Oh boy.
Go for it. Go for it.
How much clay did you use in the bowl versus your